Alright, so I guess I'm live right now. Welcome everyone, or welcome no one if there's no one watching. So, what are we gonna do today? Well, I made some songs for the game Shrimp Game, and I'm gonna show you how I made them. I'm actually gonna record a little formal YouTube intro right now, so bear with me. Alright. I made a chill underwater song for the underwater shooting game Shrimp Game, and I'll show you how I made the song. We will look at the instruments I used and then listen to the finished song, but let's listen to the song just a little bit first so you get an idea of how it sounds like. And I have the wrong audio device on, so take two. And sort of like that is how the song sounds. It's pretty chill, it's got those nice filtering synths, the deep bass, and some pretty chill drums. Actually, the day that I got the request to make this song, I was walking outside and I started hearing the drum beat in my head. Just like this. And then I just heard the chords and I created the sketch for the whole song in about an hour or so. So then I sent it off to the game developer and it was like, you did it so quickly, this is really good. It's not AI, right? Because I did it so quickly. But as you can see, it's not. I just got the idea very fast. So let's talk about the instruments, and let's start with the drums that I heard in my head. Playing this pretty chill drum beat, and the drum sounds are a mix of drum and machine drums and drums from Uncivilized Grooves, like this one right here. There's something about these drums that sound a bit ethereal to me, a bit spacey. They were used in Metroid Prime, among other things. And it's just a really good sound to get a very chill vibe, in my opinion. Even though they sound harsh, it's kind of interesting. Then the rest of the drums are 808s, it seems. The classic 808 drum machine, never goes wrong. And let me just bring up the chat so I can see what you guys are saying. And let's pin that. And let's continue. So yeah, the actual drum beat itself, it's mostly kick and hi-hat. I found that if you let the snare rest a bit, if the snare doesn't come on every other beat like a normal drum beat, it gives the song a more floating feel. So you hear how every second snare is sort of delayed. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It gives a less steady drum beat than if it was just 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And like I said, I think that gives it a more floating feel. So then there's the bass, which is very, very simple. Just a thick, deep bass. To give the song a nice deep feeling. And it's backing up this chord synth. This is the main instrument of the song. And the chord progression in this song, very simple. Just 2 chords going from down to up. Feels very watery, this synth, right? Just this stock FL Studio synth, which sounds really good. And those things, those three instruments we looked at, the synth, the bass, and the drums, really make up almost the entire song. In the second verse of the song, there's also this lead melody, a sort of soft melodic synth. Fun fact about this one is that I actually recorded the melody on my guitar. There's a program that allows you to change audio input to MIDI notes, and that's what I did here. That makes it easy to make glides and bends and the kind of things you can do on a guitar. I was actually asked by the developer of Shrimp Game to use this synth sound. Well, not to use this one, but to change it from the synth sound I had before. So I chose this Juno style synth. It's smooth, it's nice, and you can't go wrong with it. Finally, there are just a few details here and there, instruments that pop up 1 or 2 times, like this little melody here. Just a cute sounding saw wave. And then there's this. I think the rhythm is pretty satisfying. How it swells and then pulses like that. That's done through a volume envelope. Somewhere around here. Where is it? Or maybe it's on the effects side. Yeah, it is. So this volume envelope makes the synth swell and then cuts it off rhythmically. So that's why it sounds like gives it a nice little effect. Those were all the instruments, I'm pretty sure. Looks like it, so let's listen to the full song now. Here is Choral from Shrimp Game. yeah, that was Coral from Shrimp Game. A pretty minimal song, I would say. Only a few instruments, but it sounds pretty nice and full anyways. So let's move on to the next song now, which is Life Cycle from Shrimp Game. Unlike this song, which is pretty chill, pretty soft, Gasgod, the developer of Shrimp Game, asked me to make this a boss theme. So it's more intense. Oh, and he also asked for drum and bass, so it's gonna be drum and bass. And it's loading, 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 loading. There we go. Let me just check that everything sounds right. Yep, that sounds about right to me. So, I'm gonna do the YouTube intro again. Bear with me. I made this boss battle theme for the underwater shooting game Shrimp Game, and I will show you how I made it. We will look at the instruments I used, and then we will listen to the full song. Let's listen to the song a little bit so you get an idea of how it sounds like. And that goes hard. So yeah, the developer of Shrimp Game specifically asked me for drum and bass. So let's start by looking at the drums. There's a few layers here, and the first one is just a programmed drum and bass groove. Very simple, but you might notice that it sort of stutters here and there. That's because this song is in an unusual time signature, and I forget exactly what it is, but it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, it's just 10, 8. Not too crazy. I actually added these sort of typical, these classic drum and bass drums last because it was like Gasgod, the developer, asked me to add these because at first I had just the drum breaks. Which sound good, but they sound a bit too weak on their own. So Gasgod asked me to add a more normal drum and bass groove, and it sounded much thicker and much better. And then there's just a cymbal layer coming in later. And those were the drums. Not too crazy for a drum and bass song, just a few layers. And then there's the bass, and it's a double bass, also known as a contrabass or an upright bass. There we go. Sounds pretty cool and jazzy, and it's layered with this sub bass to make it sound thicker. Gasgod asked me to make something inspired by Kirby, and he showed a couple of reference songs from Kirby 64. So that's why we have some synth bells, as well as synth choir. And this together sounds like this. So it's a few different elements coming together to create a bigger feeling whole. That was what I noticed was happening in the Kirby songs that he showed me. And then there's this electric guitar. And I'm honestly so happy with that riff. It's just so catchy, and the way it's circular and rolls with the rhythm is very satisfying to me. Yeah, that goes hard. The electric guitar has some effects on it to make it sound a bit wider, and one of them is chorus. Let's see if I can find the guitar. Here we go. Phaser, huh? Yeah, this is it. Yeah, I used chorus. And it sounds good too. So those are pretty much the most important instruments of the song. They are the core of the song, you could say. But there are a few different details here and there. And one of them is actually another guitar playing in reverse. It's just a layer during another part of the song. There's also another bass coming in during the verses of the song. This nasty 808 bass. It's actually because there's sort of a breakdown during the verse parts of the song, where the electric guitar gets ring modulation and the bass becomes really thick and nasty. I think that sounds pretty sick. There's this rhythmic synth. Coming in here and there to make the grooves a bit thicker. Then there's this arpeggio. And if you ever heard the song Move Me from Ridge Racer Type 4, this arpeggio was... I tried to recreate the arpeggio from that song. The arpeggio sound. Then there's a bit of an organ for variation. Synth string at the end of the song to give it a bit of an energy boost. Just that tone gives it a bit more energy. Organ again. And also another choir layer to give it even more energy. And those are all the instruments in the song. There's a bit more than I usually use, but there's still not too many instruments in it. The song structure is also really simple. We have the banger riff part, then a breakdown, then a riff part, then breakdown again, and then a bit of a bridge, sort of variation. And then the riff part again. So the song basically has two parts that it just alternates between. Pretty simple song, but you don't need much if the parts you have are good. That's what I think anyway. So those were all the instruments. Let's listen to the full song. Here's Life Cycle from Shrimp Game. That was Life Cycle from Shrimp Game. Pretty cool song, if I do say so myself. There were just a few things I forgot to talk about during the breakdown, so I'll briefly talk about it now. During this section, the drum break is chopped up a lot to create little stutters and little fills, like little drum variations, just because it's cool to have that sort of drum thing during a breakdown, in my opinion. So all these little lines is points where I have cut out parts of the drum loop and sort of move them around to make more interesting patterns. Just a fun thing to do in drum and bass songs. And the last thing I forgot to mention is that during certain parts of the riff part, the electric guitar riff moves back a bit. I think it's 1/8 note. And that makes it so that it feels like the song becomes shuffled around. Right here, the guitar riff is gonna move. And then it's gonna go back to normal. I like that. It's like the song is phasing out of rhythm for a second. Okay, and those were the songs I made for Shrimp Game. Thank you for watching. Hope you found this interesting or informative.